Football on Off the Ball.
With William Hill, you can boost your winnings on every game with new Bet Builder Extra. Only with William Hill. Download the app today. 18 plus gamblingcare.ie.
This is News Talk.
Okay, it is Who You Got. I'm delighted to be joined by Kathleen and Shane today. Let's have a look at how we got on last week, because I think there's some big news. Do we have last week's results? There we go. I can't really see them. Owen did okay. He got 5. Colin got 4. Ger got 4. I got 4. Phil got 4. Shane got 4. Kathleen, someone picked for you, I think, but you got 3. 1 for John. 1 for Nathan. And look at that big fat 0 from Will. And what does that do to the table, folks? Let's see the overall table. Look who's on top. It's me.
Is that the first time all season that someone's taken over from Will?
Will has been in the lead at least as long back as human memory goes.
Bottle job.
In the world. He's been there for a long time. I've been there or thereabouts now for him for a while. But closed the gap.
He's 76, is it? Or sorry, you're...
I'm 76, he's 75. And Shane, I must be honest, you're closer than I thought you were.
What am I, 70?
It was Nathan and John in that kind of third and fourth for a long time. And now it's Shane and Owen, who are both on form. You're on 73, Owen's on 71, I think. So it's all pretty close.
Not out of a job.
But look, to just reach the summit at any point for a minnow like myself is kind of like, it's where you want to be.
Like Aston Villa getting to the top.
I was going to say, this is a pure
at this stage of the season, especially, like, you know what I mean. Now you're kind of like thinking, right, if this goes on, great, but it's bonus territory. Now you just want to be, you're going to be in European contention.
So Will is Newcastle, Kevin Keegan,
very much
96,
so, yeah.
and you are that United team, or potentially I'm that United team. No,
you could be. I could just be plain old Liverpool who just finished third all the time back
also
then.
ran.
Anyway, we'll get to this week. We've got a few fixtures to go to get to over the course of a interesting-ish, I would say, Premier League weekend. One of those kind of like ones that isn't knocking the roof off, but actually, if you dig down, all the fixtures have their own kind of story behind them. I'm going to bring in Lee Phelps from William Hill straight away, because the first game we're going for, Lee, is Everton and Forest, and this is the one that I wanted to get my charity bet from. Because I was looking at Everton's results, and I think people know this, but I didn't know it was as extreme as this. Their last, how many games is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. They lost to Liverpool, obviously, at Anfield. But other than that, they've had a 2-2 draw with Liverpool. They beat Palace 2-1, and then 2-2 versus United, 1-1 at Brentford, 1-1 at Wolves, 1-1 versus West Ham, and then after the Liverpool game, 1-1 versus Arsenal. So I'm thinking score draw with Everton Forest wouldn't be the craziest idea in the world.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, I must admit, I mean, often I come on here and I do agree. I agree. I disagree with this bet. This is probably this is the first time this season where I've come on and thought, not sure about this one. I get the thinking behind it, no question. But then look at Nottingham Forest's home form. If we're looking at form, look at Nottingham Forest's home form. I mean, they've been brilliant. They've beaten the likes of City, of course. They've had great results, all the way through the season. I just don't know why. They're a bit like Leicester were when they won the title. Obviously, Forest aren't going to do that well. But it's almost like they're not given the props they should be given. I mean, their odds against, as we record this, to beat Everton at home. Everton. I mean, I know they've had an upturn in form, but it's still Everton. And the other thing here, we've got 8 games left. It's a little early to be putting the flip-flops on for the summer. I get it. But the sun's been shining. Everton are 15 points clear. The job is done. I think we might just start to see the flip-flops coming on the Everton players. And I think if you're looking for any angle and any slight percentage change in a team's chances, when you get a team who are still bang at it going for, glory in their mind, i.e. Champions League football, Forest, Everton have got nothing to play for. So I just think, I understand your point that Everton are a very dogged team and they will defend really well, etc., etc. But I just think Forest should have the edge. Now, there is I'm going to kind of counter my own argument here with the Chris Wood thing is if Chris Wood was playing, I don't think they'd be 11-10. The fact that he's still injured and we don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup does change things. He got that back injury when he was away on international duty and hasn't featured since. So the goals aren't quite as readily available. Morgan Gibbs-White scored against Everton in the reverse fixture, which Forest won 2-0 at Everton, by the way. So there are goal scorers in that team, of course. I'm thinking 2-1 Forest. I can see maybe Everton getting a goal. But, if we were picking from this game alone, I would have to go with Forest at 11. They shouldn't be odds against in my book.
Yeah, I 100% see where you're coming from. I suppose the argument on the other side of that is that David Moyes is still fresh in his tenure there and is determined to even turn those draws into wins, never mind continue it on. They've become dogged and incredibly hard to beat. Yeah. Like Liverpool were lucky to beat them. They obviously didn't beat them in the other fixture. They drew with Arsenal last week in the game Arsenal had to win. These are other good teams as well as obviously to point to Forest's good form. Forest weren't very good against Villa last week. I was wondering where they run this team. Now they did come back into the game and play quite well once they went 2-0 down, but their start seemed like a team who had sort of decided they were already in the Champions League and possibly more on the beach than Everton.
Yeah, maybe you'd hope that if you're a Forest fan anyway, or if you're backing them, then you would hope that the home element of this would have a significant impact on that, and the fact that they play Everton at home. I think it's more of a price play with me. The fact that what I tend to try and do is look at a game without looking at the prices and think, what would I need this team to be to back them? And I think Forest, I expected them to be a touch of odds on, and when they're a touch of odds against, instead, I'm like, got to back that. Because I just think it's too big a price. Whereas you look at Everton, 13-5 the price they had to win away. Don't want to touch that really. Look, the draw is always around that kind of 2-1 mark. It's 9-4, so a touch over 2-1. Might have expected that to be 5-2 even. So when I look at those three prices and without getting too into the nitty gritty of value, I just think Forest are the value pick in this one.
Yeah.
But I think goals is a crucial thing though, and Forest have to find the goals. Don't get me wrong. Everton, they don't score many goals. You look at their results recently away from home. They seldom score more than one goal. So Forest will have to score two to get this done. And without Chris Wood, that's what if he's in the team, I think this won't be the price then. But this is a good price to back now if Chris Wood's in that team, even comes on the sub.
What are we looking at for like a score draw, a 1-0 or a 2-0?
Yeah, I like these bets because we often say, don't we? Seldom do you get 0-0s in the Premier League anymore. But the score draw is 18-5, so any score draw is 18-5, which bumps it up a bit more, doesn't it? That makes it a bit more palatable.
Yeah, I like that. I would have said a score draw. Look, to be honest, I'm glad you've come against us here because sometimes we make these decisions. I'm willing to pass it over to my competitors/teammates here, Kathleen and Shane.
I feel like I've come on this show multiple times over the year and said that we've not put enough respect on Forest's name, and I've also gone for my guess as a 2-1 win for Forest. So I'm siding with Lee on this one, but I will leave Shane with the deciding vote.
Well, as it turns out, I'm also siding with Lee, and I've also gone with the 2-1 Forest win. So technically, the
so
best,
we're both definitely going to be wrong.
Well, possibly.
Do you know what?
Never
let it be said there's a dictator here. Let's go with Forest to win and both teams to score, seeing as you've all picked 2-1.
Yeah, that's 15-4, so that's a nice enough price. The 2-1, by the way, is 7-1. If you want to go on a correct score, it's 7-1. But match result, both teams to score. Forest, it's 15-4.
I like it. Okay, let's go with that then. A change on the fly. That's what we need to be doing here. This is how we're going to get this charity money back up.
I'll make sure I'm here next week as well to make sure I take the blame if it's a draw.
Blame
or the praise.
Blame or credit. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. What else are you looking forward to this weekend, Lee?
Yeah, well, we've got it's available now actually online. We've got a bet and get on your ACCAs, so you need to opt in and log in for that. But I put together an ACCA across a couple in the Premier League and then a couple in the Championship. I've gone with Forest, as you might not be surprised to know, in that to beat Everton for the reasons I just said. Brighton, look, they're short enough, 2-7, but against Leicester. But I mean, Leicester have just become the whipping boys, haven't they? One of the whipping boys in the Premier League. So Brighton at 2-7, just I can't see how that doesn't land. Bristol City are starting to show some form in the Championship. Away at QPR, they're 13-10. And I like West Brom to beat Watford at home at 3-4. So that's just under 10-1 for those four. You can use your ACCA winnings boost as well on that. You need 4 or more picks, 3-1 or bigger on that one. And there's a max stake of €20 on that one. So yeah, take your pick whether you use your bet and get on it or you use your ACCA winnings boost. But I think at this time of the season, again, you're starting to kind of get into that territory where you can pick out a couple of teams who maybe the odds tell you a different story to how motivated the teams are. It's a crucial part of this last 8 games, because if a team's completely safe, I'm not saying they're downing tools at all, by the way. That's never going to happen in professional sport. But you're only looking at percentages, aren't you? So if one team's really still going for it and they've just got an extra percentage or two in their desire to win the game against a team who are just kind of like, maybe a couple of players and go, we've done the job here. I think it's really crucial to start factoring that into your predictions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting last few weeks, and I do agree. It's not the on the beach thing sounds more pejorative than it probably is. It's just a case of just not as much to play for might be a better way of looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit flippant, I must admit.
I presume Newcastle United is the kind of game that is Newcastle and Manchester United, I should say more correctly, is the game that's sort of capturing the most attention for punters this week. Is it?
Yeah, it's a cracking game, isn't it? I mean, we're still not sure what Manchester United are going to turn up at any point.
We never are.
Newcastle are 4-6, which, again, when you think where these two teams are in the league, it's odds on, but you probably think they could be shorter. 3-1 the draw. Man United are 19-5, so just a smidgen under 4-1. We've got a couple of there's price boosts across all the Premier League games this weekend. So if you're just looking, and they often kind of centre around goal scorers as well. For instance, here, Alexander Isak to score 2 or more in this game has been boosted to 4-1. Bruno Fernandes to assist a goal enhanced from 9-2 out to 11-2. Both of which you could envisage happening. And maybe Isak to score 2 or more is a bit of a stretch, but he is going for he could leap above Erling Haaland in the goal-scoring charts. Neither will probably catch Mo Salah, who we've just seen has signed that extension, so maybe he'll celebrate with a goal this weekend. But, Isak is right behind Haaland in the goal-scoring, and it doesn't look like Haaland will play a league game maybe for the rest of the season. So I do like Isak to be involved. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Bet Builder's available on this with your 25% boost, and Impact Sub available on your player bets as well. So fascinating game. I mean, I think Newcastle get it done, to be honest. I think, like I say, if you're looking for an acca on Sunday, Newcastle would go into it for me at 4-6. I think it's a fair price.
Fair enough. Lee, thanks so much. We'll catch you next week, and you can take your lap of honour when Forest beat Everton.
Good luck, everyone.
Cheers, Lee. Who you got is in association with William Hill. Remember, you must be over 18 and visit gamblingcare.ie for more info. Let's have a look at our picks for that Forest Everton game, and we'll see where we go. So Colm is going for Forest, Owen's going for Forest, Jer's going for a draw, 1-1, like myself. John is going for Everton. John often the only dissenting voice
random pick
on these picks. Yeah, Kathleen, as we already talked about, you're going for Forest 2-1. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Nathan's going for 2-0 for Forest. Phil for a draw as well. Phil's in form, by the way. Watch out for him. Forest for Will and Forest for you, Shane, as well as mentioned. A lot of 2-1s, a lot of 1-0s. Lads, I can't get over the Everton stats. Like, it's, it is hard. Like, they've played every type of team in that run.
Yeah.
But they've they've drawn 4 out of their last 5 games, 1-1. They've drawn 8 out of their last 10 games in general. It's
I see the logic in picking the draw.
It is actually a bananas run. They've become incredibly hard to beat. They have a manager who's getting the most out of them, but ultimately they're not that good a team.
Yeah.
So they're struggling to get the wins. But there's away performances against good teams in here as well as home. It's a lot. I think that they lost to Liverpool, obviously, in Anfield, and before that, I think it was like the 4th of January since they've lost away from home. So I just don't know if Forest are cleaning things up in the way they were earlier in the year to justify just assuming that they're going to beat Everton. Everton they're not the whipping boys that they were earlier in the season.
They're not. But I suppose I picked, and you'll probably agree with this, Kathleen, is you picked Forest because of their home form.
Yeah.
They managed to beat Everton 2-0 at Goodison earlier in the season as well.
Different Everton,
of course. But then Forest's record against teams in the bottom half of the season, I was reading 40 points from a possible 42 in 14 games, 7 wins and 2 draws in their last 9 games at the City Ground as well. So I don't know, when you look at the table, and a couple of weeks ago I was thinking, sure, Forest nearly have Europe sewn up, but they don't. Like, they certainly need to be winning games like this. They need to, if they win their home games between now and the end of the season, and I try not to lose too many away from home, they'll be at home and hosed, but they need the points massively. Everton, what do Everton have to play for? like relegation.
Pride.
I think they're placing that squad next season.
Yeah, well,
you
that
know,
could
they're
be
moving it. And also at the end, like I know they're at the City Ground, so it's a bad point, but you know, it's the end of Goodison Park and so on. I do think they want to finish the season on a positive note. I think they have more to play for, funnily enough, in the league than the likes of Spurs and United. Who've like given like this season. There's no coming back from where they are this season league-wise. They just have to go and win the Europa League or nothing. You know, whereas Everton, I think it is a case of like we're building on something so we can, you know, start off next season positively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's funny, like, you talk about their form since Moyes has come in, and like I remember the day it was kind of not, maybe it was the day before it was announced, but it was kind of the rumour mill was going that he was coming back, and like looking at Everton fan sites, and there was various polls of like,
We
do
spoke
you want
to
him
an
to come
Everton
back?
fan person,
and like everyone was just like, nope, not a hope in hell. I think it was like 2% of people had replied to it out of thousands and said that they wanted Moyes, and then he's come back and he's actually been able to turn things around in the fashion that he has. Like, I don't know what it is, because when you look at the team, it's not like they've had any big players come back. It's not like there's been any big squad shake-up. There's not really been any massive formation shake-up either. It seems to be just pure mentality monster sort of thing.
Jake O'Brien mainly.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it is the only real change. Like, you know, everything else is pretty much the same. But even you look at someone like Beto, like I know they're not scoring all around him or anything like that. They're drawing every match 1-1, as we said. But like someone like him, he looks like I don't know, a serviceable striker now. Whereas under the last regime, it's like, oh, why did they sign this guy? Like, what a flop. You know what I mean? It's just as an example, I'm sure there's 4 or 5 players like that. Yeah. Jack Harrison looks like he's able for the Premier League again, whereas he didn't a few months ago. Do you know what I mean? So it's just Moyes just knows how to get the most out of these players. Like, whether it's good enough in the long term, I don't know.
And it's an interesting dynamic between these two, because you almost look at Forest as what Forest were what Everton are now. Like, Forest were relegation candidates, and now they're European contenders. Really good squad, with a really good coach.
Forest are like Everton whenever Moyes was in his glory years.
Yeah, and what Everton could be in the next season or two. You know, if Moyes gets his hands on a couple of transfer windows with this team, there's a good base level there for Everton. Yeah. Why can't they? I'm not saying they're going to be what Forest currently are next season or the season after, but they wouldn't be far off that with a couple of transfer windows.
Yeah, I just watched Forest last Saturday night, and I know, like, you know, everybody was thrown between the Munster game and that, and it was hard to watch, but like, the first half they were dreadful. Like, don't get me wrong, Villa came out and played very, very well, but they scored 2 goals. They could have been more, and Forest did not look like the team at the top half of the table. They just didn't seem like it. They seemed like a mid-table team at best. And then in the second half, they were superb. And that's happened to them all season, I think, as well. Like, Forest are very, very resilient and do come back into games and so on. But I would wonder about if they're not firing all cylinders from minute 1, whether, you know, some teams are going to catch them and they're going to be coming back trying to play for a draw rather than a win. The European thing is so interesting because they're 6 points clear, say, of Villa in 7th at the moment. You've got Newcastle above. You've got Chelsea, City. You know, it's all that crowd looking for probably top 5. But then again, if United or Spurs win the Europa League, that 5th place is gone. Am I right in saying that?
I'm not actually sure on that.
Yeah, neither am I, actually. We should check that. But if that is the case, that's really interesting. It becomes a top 4 again, you know?
It's such a big if, though.
It's a big if, but like there's like, you know, there's a good chance that 2 of them will be in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's anyway, so it's all over the place. But what I'm saying though is none of those teams are winning all round them at the moment. Newcastle and Villa are in the best form at the moment. You wonder if that continues. Chelsea and City aren't picking up all that many points. I wonder, is the squeeze going to come on Forest? They might have just built up enough. They might have. There's only 8 games left, and it's not like teams are winning all around them below them.
Yeah,
you know?
we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I think, Shane, were you on for that? Was it me, you and Cullum, and picking our top, or basically who would get the European places? And I think I was the only person that said Forest would stay up.
Yeah.
Oh God, I would have said it at the time. I've been sure of it for a while, and then last Saturday I just thought maybe not. But again, it's hard.
But is that not the sign of a good team as well, that they can go 2-0 down and turn it around in the second half in that way?
Yeah, and they easily could have got a point in that game. It is.
I've read that. I've read up on that. So the coefficients, it is confirmed there will be 5 places. So even if United or Tottenham win the Europa League, there will still be that'll be a 6th spot in the Champions League next season.
So that's already accounted for as a spot.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So top 5. I can't see Forest dropping below 5th. I just can't see it. That would mean that Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea, and City all have to finish the season in like really top form.
Well, if they drop points at this weekend, like that's
Can't see all four of them. Can't see all four of them do it.
Yeah.
Like Newcastle's form, for example, since they won the League Cup has been really, really good, and their hammering teams are strong. But they're playing, like, they've had an unbelievable run. Like, Leicester's basically guaranteed 3 points at the moment. You know what I mean? It's a confidence. Let's see them when they're playing Man United, even Man United at home. Let's see. And that's our next game. See that?
A segue. Yeah,
Let's see how we picked on this one. Right. Nobody has gone for United. I was the sole person for Man United to beat City last week. 1-0 I went for. I wasn't that far off.
Far away, yeah.
Now, I still think as we were playing now, there might still be no goals in that game. But Colin has gone for 3-0. Owen has gone for 3-0. Oh, my eyesight isn't the best here, but there's a load of 3-0s, a load of 2-0s, a few 3-1s. The draws, Ger, 0-all. Kathleen, 2-all. Me, 1-all. I kind of think United are going to get something out of this game. They're not as easily beaten as they were. They're not necessarily playing all that much better, but they're stemming they're not getting whooped every week. And
when you say get something though, do you mean like the draw, or do you mean that they could
draw? Yeah, I picked the draw. I can't see them winning. I can't see them winning at St James's. Like, I think Newcastle are a much better team than them. I really do. But I just wonder if they just catch them. The only thing is, last night, I don't know what kind of effect. Like, they're in a real battle now. So next Thursday has to be their focus.
I think that late
equaliser. Old Trafford, and I think the late equaliser.
I think that secured Newcastle's win this weekend.
I'm not sure if we had picked before the game, which we didn't. We did pick before the game. If we had picked after, I'm not so sure I would have picked a draw. I think I might have gone for Newcastle. Just to balance the probability.
Yeah.
I think next Thursday, Old Trafford must win. Season on the line. This game becomes less important.
Like, yeah, it's not an exciting. Like, I know Lee said it's an exciting. It's not for United fans. I know Newcastle fans have something to play for, but I can vouch that a lot of my mates who are Manchester United fans could not care less. Like, avid supporters of the club who go over to matches and stuff. Really, like, this game is going to pass them by on Sunday. It's all about next Thursday, especially with that late equaliser last night.
It's that stage of the season, though, forever. Like, it's the same if you're an Arsenal fan. Like, I don't want this weekend to happen. Might just get me to next Wednesday.
Get it over with. It's almost like the game gets in the way of the real game. United fans don't care about it. The only worry is that the player picks up an injury or something that could cause carnage next week. I don't know what team Amarin picks. I can't imagine that he would pick a really weakened team or some young throw the young lads in. I wouldn't blame him whatsoever if he decided to do that. Rest a few legs.
Is this happening earlier and earlier every year?
Teams are.
It's the middle of April. Like, I just feels that this is happening earlier and earlier. It's like, Arsenal, don't just care about Europe. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just like, why? Like, how are we getting into these situations where, like, tell me this, a Man United fan, right? Would it matter to you if you're concentrating on Europe, whatever, win it or not win it? Does it not matter to you that you could finish 16th in the league? Is that different than 13th? Like, it would be massively different to me if I was supported a team who were like perennial champions. Like 16th in the league is humiliating.
It is, yeah.
And they could easily do it.
Yeah.
Because other than Wolves, I'd say all of the other teams, if United go and sort of phone it in for the rest of the season, could easily pass them out.
But if they phoned it in and gave rest time to players who are key for the Europa League, and if you offered me, to answer that question, if you offered me 13th in the league but lose the Europa League final, or 16th in the league but win the Europa League, like, I'm picking 16th in the league all day, because you want to
win things, like, but and you're in the Champions League.
But it's humiliating. It's probably going to be the worst finish I've ever had in my lifetime as a Manchester United fan.
I feel like there's a numbness around Manchester United fans at this stage. Like, because I don't think, obviously people care where they finish in the league, but it's almost like you've just let it go and kind of admitted defeat and how terrible the team is.
There is an element to that.
It is remarkable. The last season ended, I remember having conversations in this studio where we were talking about why we talk about United so much and just how interested they are, and it's one calamity to the next. And this was when Ten Hag was manager, and obviously they won the FA Cup last year and finished, I don't know, what did they finish, 6th in the league?
6th or 7th.
6, and it's like, awful, but not like this. And I feel like this season it's been less. It's been almost like this season's been like objectively disgraceful. Like, for them to be so bad. Like,
8th last season.
It is for a team who've spent the amount of money that there's no sense of them even finishing above 13th in the league.
No.
They're out of all the cups, etc. They are in.
Shade's really enjoying this conversation.
No, but I'm actually not trying to rise you here or anything like that. I'm not trying to, like, this isn't like Man United bait or anything like that. It is weird. I think Kathleen's right. I think there's a numbness. I think, like, last season it was banter era and it was like all this couldn't possibly get worse. And then when it got worse, it almost didn't feel it. Everybody's looking for green shoots now, and everybody's looking for the possibility of a future, bright future. A new stadium.
I feel like as well, though, there's no emotional
such thing as PSR when you're Manchester United. It's a real benefit. Like it is a real benefit being the only club not beholden by PSR.
But I feel like there's no emotional tie for United fans to this team or the club at all at the moment. You know, there's no stalwart player there that is like worth getting up for. There's no, you know, legendary old figure that's there that you want to fall in behind. The ownership has obviously made their decisions over the last while that no one particularly likes or thinks is all that good for the club. And it's like, I think that has probably almost helped United fans distance themselves for it. You know, you're not sitting there going, oh God, just like, even for Fernandez's sake, I wish everyone was playing better or whatever. They just don't have. It's like when Arteta came into Arsenal and he had that link to the club already, and you were like, okay, I'm starting to feel a bit more emotion for this team in a way that I haven't in a long time.
There's only a handful of players that the fans really love. Like Bruno Fernandes is probably one of them, because without him, relegation would have been a serious potential. They love Lisandro Martinez for his aggression. Amad Diallo, obviously, for what he's done this season. Like, everyone wants the best for Rasmus Højlund, but you know, in previous teams there was 12, 13, 14 players in the squad where you'd say, oh, United fans love them, they're a cult hero, but that's just not the case.
I think there's also there's a numbness because there's nothing they can even demand anymore. The new managers come in, you have to give him some time, he has to get his players. The ownership situation has been sorted to at least what it is, and you know, so like every now and then there's a bit of backlash about the way this club, the actual football club, is being treated. But other than that, in terms of things, it's like, there's nothing we can do. You know what I mean? It's like last year we were calling for heads and we wanted this, that or the other.
Listen, if I was previewing this game, Newcastle against United, in normal circumstances, I'd be making an argument for United. I'd be saying Lenny Yoro was brilliant the other night. He's coming into his own. Mason Mount is back. You know, and looked really sharp when he came on last night.
Even the statement, Mason Mount is back. You're just like, how far have United
I don't
fallen?
know how back he can be, but he's back from injury, let's just say.
Kobbie Mainoo's back 4 years ago.
Well, yeah.
But it's been a long 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a long 4 years.
Like, Mainoo's back, Luke Shaw's back from injury and sitting on the bench. Like, so you could make an argument in an ordinary year for this United team to beat Newcastle, even at St James's Park, but it's just not. I don't think it's going to happen on Sunday.
No, nobody's gone for them to win. But I still think a draw is absolutely possible. It's hard to see how the firepower that Newcastle have at the moment and the form they're in doesn't eventually do it. But I've kind of changed my mind as well about saying that this is actually a sneakily interesting week, because you do realise that all the games are sort of almost nothing to play for. The next one being Liverpool versus West Ham. Everybody's gone for Liverpool here, no surprise. Obviously they lost to Fulham, but Arsenal had already drawn. Like,
with Everton,
we're done, aren't we? There's no, like, is there any hope?
No.
Okay,
no.
fine.
It would have to be some sort of massive catastrophe within that Liverpool squad for them to lose basically every single game between now and the end of the season. And also for Arsenal to win every single game.
Oh, listen, Mo Salah
it's not that far off it. I actually was doing the maths recently enough. It's not that far off it. It is, you know, it's
like, you mentioned the Fulham game, the Everton game, the squeeze past Champions League exit, the Carabao Cup final loss. It's not been a good few weeks for Liverpool fans.
It's been
but
awful.
Then you have Mo Salah announcing the contract news today. That's going to be a massive boost heading into the next 2-3 games.
Common sense at last. Like, I'd be interested to see the details of that if and when it does come out. But
2027. Well, like
it's the right length to deal.
It is.
I think, any more than that's probably a bit much. But
could they still sell him maybe next summer they could still sell him and at least make a fee from it. The Alexander-Arnold thing won't happen here, at least now that they've signed him up. So it's good. I'm
delighted he's staying. I think that in terms of even just as a Premier League watcher, I think it would be sad to lose 2 years of Mo Salah at his close to prime. Players aren't getting as old as quickly as they used to, let's say. So really good news, and really good news for Liverpool. And I think the kind of thing that they play at Anfield this week, and there's a party atmosphere, and it's people move on from the last few weeks pretty quickly, given they are about to win the title. They hammered West Ham at the London Stadium. I don't remember. That was one of the times when I think they had a bad result the week before, and there was definitely some hope. I think that was the last time we thought there was a title race, and they went out and Liverpool had won a lot of games going behind and coming back and winning 2-1, and it was like the first time they went out there and just destroyed a team in the first half. I think it was 3-0 at half time. Yeah. Maybe even 4-0.
Yeah.
And they were just so much better than them just watching that game. So it's hard for me picking this week to look past the fact that Liverpool have just toyed with this team already this season.
And West Ham without a win in the last 4, like it's not like you can make much of an argument for them. It's just a matter of the scoreline, really. Like I've opted for 3-1. I just think, Liverpool will certainly target this, and they want to finish the season with a high, because there's that but there's that notion out there that people are talking about Liverpool as the least exciting champions in years, or the least convincing champions.
I feel like we say that every year, though. Have we not been saying the same about City for like the last
now City are crap,
million of
now
seasons?
City are crap. We're like, oh God, they were such a great team. They were great to watch. Kevin De Bruyne.
But there's something like
at the time we were bored silly. Like
I saw someone comparing this Liverpool title win to Leicester City's win, which is unfair.
What?
Because that was a flash in the pan.
Unfair on everybody. Like, I mean, why is the Leicester things always such held up? Like, they won the league brilliantly that season.
Fair and square. So I don't know. Look, Liverpool will want to finish the season like very, very well. 7 games left? Man, if you're a Liverpool fan, you want to be winning 5 of these games and just do it properly.
They've got a mad run as well of games coming up, kind of like with the Arsenal game in the middle of it. There's like, so I think you win this game, title's over, go and relax for the rest of the season and enjoy and win a few games and play some champagne football, as you say, to make themselves not the boring champions. Last game is Arsenal at home to Brentford. Real Madrid on the mind, and yet Kathleen's gone for Brentford, as has Ger. Explain this one. Brentford, I don't think, have a point away from home all season, do they?
There's definitely a bit of Euroism going on
just
with this one, I won't lie. Well, no, I was chatting to Owen about this during the week after the Arsenal game, which actually, by the way, so I committed to watching the Ireland game. Obviously, there was a bit of a clash between the two. So I was like, I'm going to watch the full Ireland game. And then Declan Rice scored the first goal, and everyone's like, you have to switch over. So I swapped over, managed to miss the Ireland goal, missed that goal as well. I was like, this is just unfair.
Oh, yeah.
But I tuned in just for the triple save that Courtois did off the line just before the second goal by Declan Rice. Got the second goal, then got the third goal, and it was probably like the greatest 15 minutes of football I've ever watched in my life, because I was coming from the other game a bit deflated. I was like, okay, we won, but it wasn't that convincing. And then I was like, I love football. It's the greatest moment in the world. But yeah, the two of us were kind of saying, as like the resident Arsenal fans at OTB afterwards, like, this game is just play the under-21s, send the academy out. I don't know. Like,
I just think it's over. I think
the tie.
Yeah.
Well, you do. No, I do also think Arsenal are going to progress from this position. But if Real go 1-0 up anywhere in the first 20, 25, 30 minutes, there's a game.
Arsenal are that kind of team, though. Arsenal aren't going to get hammered. This isn't the Wenger Arsenal going to the new camp. Like,
I think,
you know what I mean?
Keeping a clean sheet during the week was essential.
Huge,
if that game was like 3-1, then I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But also,
I'm concerned.
I hope that, and I've often critical of Arteta, right? And it's for loads of reasons, mainly attitude reasons rather than how he is as a football coach. But that was one of the best performances that Arsenal have ever in the history of their club. They were absolutely, even at half time, we're in here, Keith Tracy's an Arsenal fan, he was watching with us, and we were talking. I was like, I can't believe how good they were. This is when it was 0-0, and we were like, you just hope that isn't, like doing kind of, PSG versus Liverpool when Liverpool scraped the goal.
Yeah.
You kind of just had that feeling because they hadn't scored. And they were twice as good in the second half, Arsenal. After I thought put in one of their best performances I've seen of this team in the first half, and they were twice as good. And it's hard for me to think that they won't. I just hope that there isn't an attitudinal shift, that they don't go over there and think we're better than them, because they seem better than them at the weekend. I don't know if individually, player by player, they're better, but I think they're a better football team.
I don't think Arsenal can do that, considering the results that they've had in the lead up to that game. Like, that was a standout performance. That is the Arsenal that fans have been begging to see for the last couple of seasons. That's, the Arsenal team that you expected to appear this season with the ghost of City out of their minds as they dropped off and like take on Liverpool. Yeah. And it just hasn't happened. And I mean,
and is that not because of the insecurity of the message?
I think so.
Where all our players are injured. And I always say this as if they haven't had injuries. Of course they have. It's been awful. But I just feel like it's negativity. And it's just, you went out there and you hammered Real Madrid and you were brilliant. bring that forward. Use that.
Yeah.
Don't go into yourself again. Don't go in and say, what if we could see the goal in the first 20 minutes?
I know. Like, I went back and watched the full game then because I was like, I'm going to relive this multiple times over until next Wednesday when we inevitably lose 4-3 or something on aggregate. But
if that happens,
that first half, I think someone said to me, I can't wait to see what cruel and unusual ways you find to lose this. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. I can understand why everyone thinks that. But that first half, I thought the same thing as you. But I was like, we're going to concede. Like, that was just in my head. I was like, there's no way with the inconsistency of this Arsenal team that they're actually going to be able to build on that. And like, it's Real Madrid, it's European nights, like this is what they do. And then the exact opposite happened. So I actually don't know how to feel about Wednesday. Like, I don't know if I have the right to feel confident going into it because that same team had a terrible drab draw at the weekend against like Everton, who admittedly, have a great run of form, as we've said, but like Everton, Real Madrid, you know?
Yeah. And you're not going to score 2 1-in-a-million free kicks again, I suppose. So where did the goals come from is still going to be an issue. Obviously, the third goal was brilliant, I thought. But Real Madrid were stretched and a little bit kind of like, misshapen and desperate at that stage, I would say, anyway. But so
one of the Arsenal Fan TV guys, I saw him being interviewed before, a week before the game, and he was like, he predicted 2-0 to Arsenal at home, 2-0 away, 4-0 aggregate, and he was ridiculed. And even I was like, what is he talking about? And in the end, he mightn't be that far off. And I was chatting to a Liverpool fan during the week who was at that Divock Origi Barcelona comeback game, and he said himself and his friend only got tickets half an hour before the game from a couple of Liverpool fans outside who were like, take our tickets. It was game over. Like, they're not going to come back and progress and end up missing the most famous night in history. So maybe there's Real Madrid fans over there handing out their tickets, getting rid of them, and it could be a famous night for Real Madrid if they manage to score early in that game. But I do think Arsenal will score over there.
I have not checked the truthfulness of this claim, but I was talking to an Arsenal fan during the week who was trying to get tickets to go over. I think like the cheapest ones are like 400, but apparently Real Madrid are blocking Irish and English sites or like website access from Irish and English VPNs or whatever.
Right, okay. They're worried about a takeover. Smart. They've included Irish in that. That's interesting, yeah. They know that there's plenty of Arsenal fans. One Arsenal fan, just quickly before we finish, is Keith Tracy, as I mentioned. And we were talking about the Ireland match on the show. And we had Ciara Grant on the line. And obviously Rice's second goal happened during it, to which Keith reacted with an explosion. He did incredibly well to keep quiet because he jumped out of his seat and went nuts, right? But he did keep quiet. So Will kind of reacted and kept going and asked Ciara the question, and then eventually went back and asked about it. And when I was talking to Ciara afterwards, I was like, sorry about that. I said, you probably didn't know, and I'd forgotten that she could see both seats. And she was like, all I could see was jumping out, and all I was thinking was like, I've missed this bloody goal now. I need to say.
Yeah.
So as much as everybody wanted to talk about Ireland the other night, the Arsenal game did quite take over.
Oh yeah, it was a far more interesting game, far more interesting result.
Yeah.
For a
Brentford, to me, like Brentford had a good result at home, like drew 0-0 with Chelsea at the weekend. They're decent at home. I've sensed that their European dream is kind of gone. They're just that little bit too far behind. It's not even that they're too many points behind. I think there's too many teams between them, and I just wonder, are they on the beach? Well, I think Arsenal might go in even with a good few changes. I actually suggest this one we did know after the result, and I just thought they'll make a few changes, but there'll be a general high, and I think they could go out and play with a bit of freedom this week and just kind of beat Brentford matter of factly, and that's why I've gone for 3-0. I think either they'll win handily or they won't win the game. I can't see Arsenal getting a niggly 2-1 win here.
No, I don't think so, because I don't think they'll want to. I think because
which is what Nathan's gone for. And Phil.
Everyone's going to be conscious though as well of like injuries and stuff, and that worries me massively, because I feel like when you're conscious of that, you're more likely to do something to yourself.
The Champions League makes it a tough game to call. The three of us have gone for 3 different results. You've gone for Arsenal easily enough. I've gone for a draw. You've gone for Brentford to win. So like,
actually sacrificing the points.
It is tough to call. But Brentford have been so inconsistent all season. The draw with Chelsea the last time out was pretty decent, and I just feel like with one eye in the Champions League, maybe Arsenal dropping some sort of points here is an option.
Okay, fair enough. That is who you got. We see the table one more time. I'd particularly like to see it because I think it could be my only week. I think it could be a 1 weeker.
Enjoy your moment.
No, that's not it. The overall table.
Show me the real
that has
table.
Owen on top. I don't want to see that one. I'm only in 4th on that one.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Anyway, if we did see the overall table, you'd see that I was ahead by 1 point over Will. There we go. There we go. Mick first. Will. Shane Shane's scarily
see me on
close
top
there.
next
Yeah,
week.
he's only 3 points off. One correct result here now.
Yeah.
And now that you have talked me out of basically all my picks here, I'm a little bit concerned. Okay, thanks a million to Kathleen and Shane. We'll see you next week.
Football on Off the Ball.
With William Hill, you can boost your winnings on every game with new Bet Builder Extra. Only with William Hill. Download the app today. 18 plus gamblingcare.ie.
This is News Talk.